Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we at Ramanacentre Center for Learning, Bengaluru are conducting our 45th National Seminar and Cultural Festival, which is being inaugurated today. This seminar, like the last year's 44th National Seminar, has a global element as well in it, being an online event. The theme of this seminar also, like last year's seminar, is Ramananjali. What is Ramananjali? Ramananjali is the musical embodiment of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi. So it has as its content, as its foundation and as its form Ramana, and it is also an outpouring. These are the poetic outpourings of the experience of the self, the Ramana Lahari, as Vishwanatha Swami calls it, as Nochur calls it, the Ramana Lahari, the experience of the self brimming forth in poetry, the experience of Arunachala Ramana, who is the self brimming forth in poetry. And these are compositions by Bhagavan himself and by poet saints like Ganapathi Muni, Muruganar Swami, Shuddhananda Bharati, Sadhuam Swami, Shiva Prakasham Pillai, Satyamangalam Venkataraman, Manavasi Ramaswamy Iyer, and numberless poet devotees of Bhagavan who have just poured out their gratitude to Bhagavan in poetry. So many of Bhagavan's devotees have poured their love for him in poetry, and they continue to do so till today. That's the way it just wells forth. And Ramananjali is the musical form of this poetry. These outpourings are continuing even till today and are sure to continue unabated for generations to come. This poetical outpouring has been given a musical form by the mother of Ramananjali, Srimati Sulochana Natarajan. She was inspired by Professor K. Swaminathan's love for Muruganar's poetry and her own husband Sri A.R. Natarajan's passion for Bhagavan Ramana, and her own passion, her own life breath being Carnatic classical music, brought her to give a musical form to the compositions of Bhagavan Ramana and these various poets, and the movement snowballed to include not only the original compositions of Bhagavan and many of Muruganar, all of Ganapathi Muni's on Bhagavan, many of Sadhuam Swami's compositions. The movement snowballed to include translations of these various compositions, and the Ramana music movement embodied in Ramananjali began to include compositions of contemporary poet devotees on Bhagavan. So the music is potentially infinite. It will continue to include ever new compositions on Bhagavan, which are happening every day. The devotees are still pouring out their gratitude to Bhagavan, the Sadguru, in the form of poetry, which then gets embodied as music and further as dance and drama. So this is the movement which we are celebrating, the potentially infinite movement, but which today is a repertoire of about 2000 songs. Srimati Sulochana Natarajan, the mother of the Ramananjali musical movement, has given to this body of music a basic form of Carnatic classical music, including the entire gamut of Carnatic classical music, beginning from the Swaravalis through the Geetam, Swarajati, Varnam, different forms of Varnams, the Kirtanams, every form of Tukudas, and the devotional aspect springing from the Carnatic music forms a major part of the Ramananjali music. So when we say that the theme of the seminar is Ramananjali, it means the theme of the seminar is Ramana, who is the Adhara, the foundation, the essence and the very form of that poetry and that music. It also means that the theme is a very personal, individual relationship with this infinite power called Ramana, with the self. It means there will be different approaches to dwelling on Bhagavan's life and teachings. So in this seminar and cultural festival, we look forward to listening to talks on the life and teachings of Bhagavan Ramana. We look forward to interviews and interactions on Ramananjali music and cultural presentations, music programs, musical features, dance programs and dance dramas on the theme of Bhagavan's life and teachings, on the theme of the lives of devotees like Muruganar and other poet devotees. This year's National Seminar and Global Online Festival is, as I said, the 45th of Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning's offerings in this area. This means that we have a fund of material available from our earlier events. And we are eager to share this archival treasure with the world at large, with devotees of Bhagavan, with the seekers of truth. So we have planned this online seminar, which is a beautiful opportunity to share the archival treasure, as a combination of presentations from the earlier years, from our archives, as well as new presentations. Today's inauguration will be a visit down memory lane. We will begin with a prayer by Sri K. Natesan, a prayer he rendered at the international seminar held on the occasion of Bhagavan's centenary of enlightenment at Chaudaya Memorial Hall, Bengaluru. And when we replay this prayer of Sri K. Natesan, we pay a tribute to Ganapathi Muni, whose disciple Sri K. Natesan was. Ganapathi Muni because Ramananjali is the name of Ramana which is being sung, and Ganapathi Muni has given to us that sweet name Ramana. So it is thought to be appropriate to begin with a prayer by Sri K. Natesan. And also Sri K. Natesan has been associated with Ramana Maharshi's center's seminars. He was the one who would say the prayer right from the first seminar in 1980 till 2000 seminar, when the Ramana Maharshi Heritage Campus, the Heritage Auditorium, was inaugurated at Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, Bangalore. So we begin with a prayer, a nostalgic prayer rendered by Sri K. Natesan.
अरुणाचलरूपेण तरुणाममुपागतं तेजोमयं परं ब्रह्म ज्ञानाय मम जायतां यो बभाम अभनन्नेव मुनिभ्यो ब्रह्मनिर्जयं दक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै प्रज्ञानगुरवे नमः। स्थापितं ब्रह्मनिष्ठेन येन अद्वैतगतं भुवि तस्मै शङ्करसंज्ञाय विज्ञानगुरवे नमः। अंशावतारस्कन्दस्य विश्वाचार्यो विदम्बरः प्रणम्यते महाभागो रमणो भगवान् ऋषिः। दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। शान्तिर्नितान्तमधिका परमस्य शक्तिः वैराग्यमद्भुततमं करुणातु सान्द्रा ज्ञानं निरस्तकुवनं मधुरं च वृत्तं नृणां निदर्शनमयं रमणो महर्षिः।
The inaugural address for our 45th National Seminar is from none other than Sri Ramanacharanatirtha Nochur Venkataraman. This is also a treasure which we are releasing for the first time online from our archives. This address was given to us in the seminar of 2010, then as a keynote address, and it will still form the keynote address for our 45th seminar as well. Our namaskarams to Nochur Anna for blessing this webcast of his auspicious address. The keynote address by Sri Ramanacharanatirtha Nochur Venkataraman will be followed by a Bharatanatyam feature presented by Dr. Ambika Kameshwar depicting the essence of the Ramananubhavam, Ramana as experienced by Muruganar and portrayed in the opening verses of Tiru, Undiyaar.
नमः परमर्षिभ्यो नमः परमर्षिभ्यः हरिः ओम् अन्तरायतिमिरोपशान्तये शान्तपावनमचिन्त्य वैभवं तं नरं वपुषि कुञ्जरं मुखे मन्महे किमपि तुन्दिलं महः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। यस्यान्तन्नादिमध्यं न हि करचरणं नामगोत्रं न सूत्रं नो जातिर्नैव वर्णा न भवति पुरुषो नानपुंसं न च स्त्रीं नाकारं नैवकारं न हि जनिमरणं नास्ति पुण्यं न पापं तत्त्वं नो तत्त्वमेकं सहजसमरसं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वर्षिष्ठान्ते वसदृशिगणैरावृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे। वेदान्तार्थविभासकायेतये शान्ताय सन्न्यासिने नानावादिनगेन्द्रसङ्घपवये योगीन्द्रवन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्तदिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभितां बिभ्रते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततं पूर्णाय बोधात्मने अपार सच्चित्सुखवारिराशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। देहं मृण्मयवज्जडात्मकमहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तदभावसुप्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वर्धिया दृष्ट्वात्मनिष्ठात्मनां सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं करुणापूर्णसुधाब्धे कबलितघनविश्वरूप किरणावल्या अरुणाचलपरमात्मन् अरुणो भव चित्तकञ्जसुविकासाय त्वयि अरुणाचल सर्वं भूत्वा स्थित्वा प्रलीनमेतच्चित्रं हृद्यहमित्यात्मतया नृत्यसि भोः ते वदन्ति हृदयं नाम अहमिति कुत आयातीत्यन्विष्यान्तः प्रविष्टयात्यमलधियाम् अवगम्य स्वं रूपं शाम्यत्यरुणाचलत्वयि नदीवाब्धौ त्यक्त्वा विषयं बाह्यं रुद्धप्राणेन रुद्धमनसान्तस्त्वां ध्यायन् पश्यति योगी दीधितिम् अरुणाचलत्वयि महीयं ते त्वयि अर्पितमनसा त्वां पश्यन् सर्वं तवाकृतितया सततं भजते अनन्यप्रीत्या स जयत्यरुणाचलत्वयि सुखे मग्नः हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रं ह्यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामज्जदा वा पवनचलनरोधाद् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वं यस्माज्जातं जगत्सर्वं यस्मिन्नेव प्रलीयते येनेदं धार्यते चैव तस्मै ज्ञानात्मने नमः। प्रज्ञानां शुप्रदानैः स्थिरचरनिकरव्यापिभिर्व्याप्य लोकान् भुक्त्वा भोगान् स्थविष्टान् पुनरपि धिषणोद्भासितान् कामजन्यान् पीत्वा सर्वान् विशेषान् स्वपिति मधुरभुङ् मायया भोजयन्नः मायासङ्ख्यातुरीयं परम् अमृतम् अजं ब्रह्म यत्तन्नतोऽस्मि अरुणाचलशिरोद्भूतसम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकं करुणार्णवमीडेतं रमणाख्यमहं महः. They announced it as keynote address. Bhagavan has given us one key, the only key to unlock the inner treasure house. The moment we use that key, that very moment, you own the treasure, which is you yourself. As Bhagavan says, Tedadutra nal tiruvarul nidhi. It's very difficult to speak about Bhagavan because Bhagavan is that truth which is beyond words, which is beyond mind. But the highest way, the best way of emanating spiritual experience is, of course, through silence. As Bhagavan did all his life, he also spoke. It is not that Ramana Maharshi was always silent. In the first West, when Paul Brenton, he wrote his book, Search in Secret India. In that book, he says, the sage also spoke, but his silence was more eloquent. It was more communicative. So Bhagavan's silence was not simply keeping the mouth shut. The next alternative is only to speak about Bhagavan, think about Bhagavan, adinai uraittum, adinai ninaittum, kathayantasya mam nityam smarantaha smarayantasya, mitho aghaugaharam harim. In Bhagavatam there is a verse which says, smarantaha smarayantasya, mitho aghaugaharam harim, bhaktya sanjadaya bhaktya, Bibrati utpulakam tanum. We recollect, we meditate on him, and we speak about him, and we make others also recollect and meditate on him. That is what we call a satsang. It's not lecture, talk or anything. Simply we become one. There is neither the speaker nor the listener. Sri Kunjuswami, who was with Bhagavan, in his reminiscences, Kunjuswami has written, Bhagavan used to narrate many stories to his close devotees. Sometimes that session will continue for 2 or 3 days. Every day the same subject will come. Every day during night time, all these close devotees, they will sit around Bhagavan. And Bhagavan, just like a grandfather narrating stories to his grandchildren, Bhagavan used to narrate various stories from Puranas or from his own former life or his life in Arunachala. He used to narrate. And all these devotees used to sit with rapt attention. Bhagavan will narrate with so much expression that they could visualize what Bhagavan used to narrate. And the funny incident is, Bhagavan's brother, Sarvadikari Niranjanananda Swami, he used to walk inside the ashram. There's something like a patrol, observing whether anybody is disturbing Bhagavan's night rest. So he will come near the hall, and somebody has given him complaint that these close devotees are disturbing Bhagavan. They are making Bhagavan speak in night. So when he came on that side of the window, Bhagavan could see him, and all these devotees were looking at Bhagavan. They could not see. So Bhagavan said, "Padutko, padutko." Bhagavan said, lie down, lie down. Chinnama varar. Padutko. He will make them pretend sleeping, and Niranjanana Swami will come and look at that old hall, and he will be satisfied that everybody is sleeping, and he will go back, போயாச்சு எழுந்துருங்க. Now he is gone, you wake up and Bhagavan will continue his story session. So on one side, Bhagavan was so silent that Muruganar says even Arunachala was ashamed. The mountain himself was ashamed because he could not be so still. Amma atishayam achalavum nana chumma irundador swarupam. That achalam, that mountain, Arunachala himself got ashamed because even he could not remain so still. On the other side, Bhagavan was everybody. He became everyone. He enjoyed with everyone. So, Bhagavan was not a dry jnani. Kanneeratru azhiven Arunachala. Bhagavan was sweetness itself. Bhagavan was joy itself because he was Brahman. Anando Brahmeti Vyajanat. His very nature itself was bliss. He was solidified bliss, solidified Ananda Swarupa. Those who came in contact with that Ananda, all their life they lived intoxicated in that. Many of you have seen many of Bhagavan's devotees. It was not something like seeing a cinema or something like eating some sweet food or having some entertainment. After that you are the same person. No. I am always reminded about one anecdote of it comes in Sri Ramakrishna's life. One of his devotee, a woman devotee, she came to Ramakrishna and said, my husband is a drunkard. I tried my best to what we call, de-addiction. I could not do anything. He is addicted to it. He is a drunkard. Thakur, you have to help me to cure him. Then Ramakrishna said, somehow bring him to me. But she could not. Then Ramakrishna said, pray for him. I will give you mantra. You chant that mantra and one day your husband will come to me. So he gave a mantra to that woman. She prayed deeply. And it happened one day that Kalipada Ghosh, he came to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And he was looking at Ramakrishna through the window. And devotees were singing. Ramakrishna was dancing in joy. And after that bhajan, there was nobody, but still Ramakrishna was continuing that intoxicated state. Looking at Ramakrishna, this man thought, he is a drunkard, like me. And he felt how intoxicated he is, so much of inundation, so much of lahari. So that must be a very powerful drug. So when Ramakrishna came out, this man went to him and said, Thakur, in Bengali they call Thakur, what kind of liquor do you take? Is it country made or foreign? Then Ramakrishna said, it is purely country made. Nadanjark. And you have to take it only once and all your life you will be intoxicated. Do you want that? He said, very much. Then slowly he became very close to Ramakrishna, and even Ramakrishna gave initiation to him. His name was Kalipada Ghosh. So, that example of living intoxicated all your life, the moment you touch that lahari, all your life you are intoxicated, and Bhagavan himself gave out the example of a drunkard walking, unaware of his body, unaware of the cloth that has fallen off. Daivad apetam uta daivavasad upetam vaso yata parikritam madira madandha. It's a Bhagavatam verse. Madira means liquor. A person who is addicted to drinking, he will not be aware about his cloth, whether it is there in his body or not. Like that, a jnani will be unaware of his own body, whether the body is there or not. He is intoxicated with that ananda, with that self-experience. So, Bhagavan was Brahman itself, and those who came in touch with Bhagavan, not even in Bhagavan's time, even after Bhagavan's Mahasamadhi, many who came to Bhagavan, even now it continues. Those who come in touch with Bhagavan's teaching, those who come to Bhagavan's that presence, that ashram, Ramanashram or that adhisthana, even there I have seen many who refuse to move out of that Samadhi hall. All the daytime they spend their time in that Samadhi hall. Nothing to do, no special function. So Bhagavan's direct disciples were the greatest testimony for Bhagavan's teaching. They lived that Ramananubhuti, they lived in Ramana, and the greatest end of one of the Bhagavan's direct devotees we saw last Jayanti day. Kanakamma, during last Madras, that Enlightenment festival, during that period, I was sitting very close with her. Before that, every day she came to my talks there in the early morning, Ulladinarpada talks. One young boy who was not much learned in spiritual teachings, he used to bring her every day in his car to that Narada Gana Sabha. Last day he said to me, Anna, when I see that Amma, I feel as if I am seeing Ramana Bhagavan. Then I said, yes, Ramana Bhagavan alone is there inside her. See, you need not be educated to receive that spiritual vibration. It overpowers you. It can encroach into you. It's more palpable than any solid thing. So Kanakamma, she lived all her life in Bhagavan, and we were fortunate to see how Bhagavan took her away. We have heard about Meera or Andal merging in Krishna, but we saw that was one of the greatest display of Bhagavan's grace. On Bhagavan's Jayanti, she did 3 pradakshina to Bhagavan's Samadhi and simply merged. So such a great tradition of great sages. See, we should be aware, because for spirituality, simply teaching is not enough. All this Brahma Vidya we can get in all Upanishads, all Shastras we will easily get. But you need a force, a backing of a parampara to push you inward. Simply spirituality will not stay by books or by talks or by any kind of programs. We need people who live it. And we were fortunate enough to see hundreds of them, at least to listen, or even we can read. Many of Bhagavan's devotees, many of Bhagavan's direct disciples, how they lived in Bhagavan, how they were intoxicated all their life. Externally, if you look, they kept a very low profile, nothing special about them. They didn't claim any speciality. They didn't act as if they are enlightened or realized or jnanis. They lived like any other ordinary person. But if you go very near, you can see behind that ordinariness, even with Kanakamma, behind that ordinary self was all her life, full life of Ramananubhava. They had nothing, otherwise they could have gone back to their place, led a very comfortable life, very luxurious life. Many of them, they were even rich. But they didn't do that because they saw God in physical form, they lived with Him, and that God was not like our gods in temples, because the temple God remains in the temple and you remain outside. But this God made the devotees also as God. They were transfigured. As Adi Shankara says, there is a magical stone which we call as Chintamani. Using that Chintamani, if you touch this mic, the mic will become gold. They call it as philosopher's stone, they say, alchemy. But Guru is not a magical stone, because the magical stone can make a metal into gold, but it cannot make a metal into a magical stone. But a Guru, Sviyam Swamyam Vidhatte, Sviyam Samyam Vidhatte. The Guru makes the disciple into himself. There is no difference at all. When Ramana came to Arunachala, Arunachala made Ramana as Achala. And whoever came to Bhagavan, Bhagavan simply swallowed them. He simply swallowed them. They didn't exist as persons. They became the embodiment of Ramana experience. So, what is that Ramana experience which they experienced, which they enjoyed all their life? It's not that simply they saw Ramana Maharshi and they were keeping Ramana Maharshi in their mind and remembering Ramana Maharshi. No. It was not simply some mental recollection of Ramana Maharshi that they carried all their life. No. Bhagavan awakened the inner awareness, made them recognize what they are. It's not the external Ramana Maharshi, it is the inner self that they enjoyed, and their gratitude for gaining that, all their life they were paying homage to Bhagavan. Many came to Bhagavan, just saw him once, and they could not forget Bhagavan. One of the devotees of Bhagavan, an elderly lady, she narrated a small incident in Bhagavan's life. She was only 6 years old. When she came to ashram, her mother introduced Bhagavan to her and told her, he is the permanent truth. Don't hold on to me, hold on to him. Na shashvatam ille, avarthan shashvatam. And that Amma told me, I was not even knowing the meaning of shashvatam. But simply I saw Bhagavan and I liked him. And while Bhagavan was having his walk up the hill, I simply followed him. She was only 6 years old. After walking few steps, somebody who was with Bhagavan, perhaps Krishna Swami or Shivanandam or Vaikuntha Vasar, they told Bhagavan, Bhagavan, a small child is following us. ஒரு பொன் குழந்தை பின்னால் வந்துட்டு இருக்கா. Then Bhagavan turned back, looked at her, and with his stick, walking stick, showing like this, he said, Tirumba po. Turn back and go. Go back to the, simply perhaps Bhagavan meant go back to ashram. Tirumba po. That child came back to ashram, and after 40 years, she told me, I forgot my own parents' face, my own mother's face or father's face, but I could not forget that figure which looked at me and told Tirumba po. And now, I feel that Tirumba po has much more meaning than what I understood then. Bhagavan simply said, go back, but now I know that Tirumbi aham tanai dinamaga kangan teriyumendranayan arunachala. Now I feel Bhagavan made me turn inward, look inward, and see what my real nature is. So each and every movement of Ramana, those 54 years he lived in Tiruvannamalai, each and every breath was a teaching. And that had only one purpose, to make you turn inward and recognize your essential nature. Bhagavan had no other interest. In many anecdotes you can see that. During one Jayanti, in ashram, you can see it in letters from Ramanashram. Many programs were planned, music, dance, singing, lectures, and they put a long list and showed to Bhagavan. Bhagavan went through that list and said, Then he gave that list back. Seeing that Bhagavan was not commenting anything on that, one devotee said, Bhagavan, what is your opinion about this? Bhagavan said, I see they are going to lecture, talk about various subjects. எங்கிட்ட பிரசங்கம் பண்ண சொல்லாம இருந்தா சரி. I will be happy if they don't ask me to talk. Then one devotee said, Bhagavan, all these programs are arranged for Bhagavan. So if Bhagavan clearly says what he wants, we will only do that. We won't do all these things. Then first Bhagavan said, you do whatever you like. This devotee again insisted, Bhagavan, please tell us what should we do so that you will be happy. Then Bhagavan said, oh, Swami ki yadi ishtamnu kekriya. You want to know what Swami likes? You know what Swami likes? He likes all of you to inquire who am I and find out where the I arises and go back to the source and realize that you are that eternal truth and keep quiet. Recognize who you are and remain as you are and chumma iru. இதுதான் சுவாமிக்கு பிடிக்கும். After expressing that, then after few minutes, Bhagavan again asked, அது பண்ண மாட்டாளே? Then Bhagavan said, they won't do that. Then whatever you like, you do. It's not that Bhagavan was insisting on that. See, Bhagavan was constantly radiating that energy which could make you introverted and recognize yourself. Whenever somebody asked teaching, his only teaching was find out who you are. Find out what is your nature. Unnai நீ அறிந்து கொண்டால் உனக்கு ஓர் கேடுமில்லை. That was one of Bhagavan's most favorite songs in Kaivalya Navanitam. Unnai நீ அறிந்து கொண்டால் உனக்கு ஓர் கேடுமில்லை. If you know who you are, then you will know that there is no imperfection in you. If you understand yourself only as this body, it is impossible for you to be perfect. Because as the body, no one can be perfect. No one can be perfect. Physically, nobody can be perfect. Because this body, in talks in one place, Bhagavan says, body is another name for death. We are in prison. This body is the moving form of death. In Valmiki Ramayanam, Rama says to Bharata, Sahaiva mrityuhu vrajati, saha mrityuhu nishidate, gatva sudirgam adhvanam saha mrityuhu nivartate. Rama tells Bharata, when you stand up, you know who is standing up? It is death which is standing up. When you walk, it is death who is walking. When you come back, it is death who is coming back. So your body is another name for death. So remaining as the body, it is impossible to be perfect. Ashariram vavasantam na priya priye sprishataha na sasharirasya sataha priya priyayoho apahatirasti. The Upanishad says, identifying with the body, you can never cross, you can never transcend the duality, the pain of suffering of duality. But am I the body? Nan udambo. Bhagavan puts a question mark there. Nan udambo. In Ulladinarpada, Bhagavan asks, Nam udambo. Are we this body? Am I this body? The body never says I. The body never says I. If the leg or hands are amputated, there is no decrease in the experience of I. Now they transplant everything. Liver transplantation, heart transplantation, kidney transplantation. The experience of I remains same. In the waking state, the body is there, the mind is there, I remain the same. In the dream state, the body is not there, the mind operates, I remain same. In deep sleep, neither the body exists nor the mind operates, but I am. As an existence, I am there. Not as the personality. So that which is in deep sleep, Bhagavan starts his who am I with deep sleep. Adi Shankara, as a young boy, when he went to Govinda Bhagavatpada asked him, who are you? Then Shankara said, Sushuptyaika siddhas tadeko vasishta Shiva kevaloham. I am that truth, that which remains even in deep sleep. In deep sleep, neither the body exists, nor the mind exists, nor this person exists. But still, the truth exists. And everybody loves to go back to deep sleep. Atma Priyam. Everybody loves to sleep. When you wake up from deep sleep, suppose it is only 2 o'clock, you look at timepiece and you are happy because you have 3 more hours to sleep. Such joy comes from within, genuine joy. Without even analyzing, you compare the deep sleep with waking state and you choose to sleep naturally. You are ready to give up the body, you are ready to give up the mind, you are ready to give up the personality and go back to that state where your intellect says there is nothing. So what makes you go back to that state? What is the happiness that you earned there? It was not something external. Every day you have it. In many, many places in talks, Bhagavan makes the person see deep sleep. Find out what is in deep sleep. Were you there in deep sleep? Usually, the more we grow old, it makes very little sense. Deep sleep makes very little sense to us. Because our deep sleep is sandwiched between dreams. This side also you dream. When you enter into deep sleep, you dream. When you wake up, you come out of the corridor of dream to the waking state. So then also you don't remember the depth of deep sleep, profundity of deep sleep. In Chandogya Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you see a great discussion, a profound discussion about that state. They say it is Hiranyanidhi Sthana. Treasure is hidden, and you walk on the earth where treasure is hidden, and you don't know that treasure is there. For thousands of years you are living on that land, but unless you dig and see, unless somebody points out to you that treasure is there, you will not recognize. So too, in deep sleep, neither the body nor the mind nor the personality exists, but we remain as the self. That self-experience you didn't attain. It is not an attainment. It is not an achievement. You are not achieving anything there. You are already that. Na utpadyam, na apyam, na samskaryam, na vikaryam. You need not, utpadana means create it. Apyam, you need not attain it. It is already there. You are already that. In fact, Bhagavan's teaching is not even who am I. The whole talks you see, when somebody comes to Bhagavan and asks him, Bhagavan, how to attain truth? Then Bhagavan will counter question him, who are you now? What is there to attain? What should you attain? You are already truth. Then he will come out again, but I don't know. Then Bhagavan will say, find out who is this I, which says, I am not able to understand. What is this I? Ahaspudam tattvamasiidi vedaha tadapi asamprapya paratmanishtham bhuyo vicharaha matidurbalatvam. Veda said tattvamasi, you are already that. But people fail to recognize. Even Shankaracharya bemoans, he cries, he weeps. In Mahavakya Darpanam, Shankaracharya says, these ignorant fools wander here and there in search of astrologers for solving their miseries. Adya Ashtamiti, Navamiti, Chadurdashiti, Jyotishkavache Upavasanti Bhaktya. Shrutestvaho Tattvamasiiti Vakyam na Vishwasanti Adbhutameta. The greatest wonder is that being yourself the infinite truth, being yourself the source of all strength, being yourself the ultimate essence of knowledge, you consider yourself as a petty jiva. You consider yourself as this body. You consider yourself as a man or woman or family man or sannyasi or brahmachari, whatever name you may give. Then you think you have lot of problems to solve. And then you find out a person who is equally suffering like you and go to him and tell him, find out what is the pariharam. And some of the problems are solved by you because you give him money. And he says, Adya Ashtamiti, Navamiti, Chadurdashiti. Today is Ashtami, today is Navami, today is Chaturdashi. Do this puja, do that pariharam. Then you do with bhakti. And Shankara says, even that much bhakti they don't have to Shruti Mata, that Veda Mata, who declares you are the truth. You are the Satyam. You are the ultimate truth. Why do you desist from recognizing it? You are not this body, you are not this mind, you are not this intellect. Samasteshu vastushu anusyutam ekam samastani vastuni yamna sprishanti viyadvat sada shuddham achaswarupa sanityopalabdhi swarupoham atmaham. Hastamalaka declared, I am that infinite self, infinite like the space, ever experienced by all in their heart as I. And Bhagavan says nobody is ignorant of it. Everybody is a jnani. And nobody can claim jnana. Bhagavan says everybody is a jnani, so I can put board, I am a jnani. No. Then Bhagavan comes out with another statement. There are no jnanis, only jnanam exists. Only truth exists. Because truth will not allow the ego to claim it, own it. The moment you recognize the self, for you everybody is a jnani. For Ramana Maharshi, there was no Ramana Maharshi. Somebody asked Bhagavan, Bhagavan, you are Bhagavan, so please tell us what will happen to us, when will we attain enlightenment? Then Bhagavan said, if I am Bhagavan, for me, nothing exists apart from myself. So I cannot say when will you attain, because you are already enlightened. Suppose if I am an ordinary person like you, I know only that much which you know. So then also I cannot say. So the truth alone is there, self alone is there. Everything is Arunachala Swarupam, Bhagavan said. Anniyamil anbushai. Unnuruvai. Akilamum unnuruvai. Everything is Arunachala, your form. You are already pervading. In fact, you alone exist, the world does not exist. So, the moment we listen to that teaching, or when we read Bhagavan's talks, at least if we have that Shraddha, that faith, that it is Bhagavan who is narrating it, that very moment that experience should come to us. Because Bhagavan is neither the Tadvastu nor the Tvam Vastu. In Stuti Panchakam, Venkataramanaya said, Asi Paradattu Uruvanavan. He is the experience that connects the Tat and Tvam. He is the embodiment of Chit Shakti which can make you experience the truth. You need not be powerful enough to recognize it. You need not be educated to do that. You are already that. Brahmaivasan Brahmapyeti. It's not that you attain Brahman. By being a Jiva, you are not going to attain Brahman. A Jiva can never attain Brahman. The Jivahood is only an appearance. The moment you seek what this Jiva is, the moment you inquire what this I means, that very moment you know that it is only an illusion. And the testimony is deep sleep. You get a taste of it in deep sleep. Every day in deep sleep you see that you remain without the body, you remain without the mind, you remain without the intellect, you remain without the personality. You don't need this body to be happy. You don't need the senses to be happy. You don't need the mind to be happy. You remain as happiness itself without the body, without the mind, without the intellect, without the senses. And that is your real nature. Tat tvamasi. You are that. How to recognize that? Bhagavan says, to recognize that, find out wherefrom this I arises. The best way is, the greatest teaching of Bhagavan is Chumma iru. And that too, Bhagavan didn't teach verbally, he remained in that state and made people recognize that. But very few will recognize that. So, sometimes he taught Chumma iru. He said, keep quiet. But then also many failed to recognize. Then Bhagavan asked, find out who wants to realize the self. Find out who is bound in this world. Who are you? You know, many of Bhagavan's close disciples, even they were afraid to ask Bhagavan any question, because Bhagavan will look at them, and that look had a frightening effect. In one place, Chadwick says, it's just like tiger looking at a rabbit. Because he will look at you like that and he will ask, who are you? He was not looking at the body, he was looking at the ego which springs forth. And he is teaching you how to look at the ego. Unless you look, although it is ego, he never goes. He remains there. Unless you pay attention, unless you recognize the source, the ego will continue to give you trouble in various forms, in manifold forms. That is why Bhagavan said, self-enquiry is the only means, effective means, to put fire on the ego. Ramasvatma vicharoyam koham syamiti rupakaha chitta durdruma bijasya dahane dahanasmritaha. Yoga Vasishta says, hey Rama, this who am I is the fire with which you can burn the seed of this poisonous tree, poisonous shrub, which you call as mind. It's the fire which can burn the seed, not even the root. Rama swatma vicharoyam koham syamiti rupakaha chitta durdruma bijasya dahane dahanasmritaha. This fire of who am I has to be kindled within. We have to keep it aflame ever. What is this I? What am I? Who am I? I am not this body. Separate from this body, always I feel this I. In many traditions, they had a mystic path of confronting this Chijjada Granthi. In Kashmiri Shaivism, also they also say Akritrima Aham Vimarsha. But Bhagavan constantly guided every one of his devotees to seek the source directly. One of the famous example is, somebody asked Bhagavan, how to do self-enquiry? How to do Atma Vichara? Bhagavan said, find out the Aham Vritti. Aham Vritti, Aham Spurti, Aham Bodha. Find out the Aham Vritti. Seek the source of this Aham Vritti. Then this person asked, this ego has many other forms, like waking state, dream state, even in deep sleep state. If you look at deep sleep from the waking state, you will see the ego is also there. Then Bhagavan comes out with great clarity. Bhagavan says, do not think and analyze like that. If you start analyzing and accepting manifold forms to this ego, you will not be able to pursue your sadhana. So accept that it has only one form in experience, that is this pulsation of I. Bhagavan says accept. Accept that it has only one form, that is this spurti, this ahamvriti. Then, in day by day, some devotee asks, what is this vritti? How to hold on to it? Then Bhagavan said, when it pulsates, usually when somebody insults you, that is the best moment. Or when you get angry, when you don't get what you think you deserve, or in your life, when you confront miseries which you never expect, then if you go and sit alone and you ask a simple question, suppose the same problem has come to my neighbor or some other person, will I be affected? No. Then why am I affected now? The simple answer is, the problem is for me. Then you will see what this ahamvriti is. It's the center, chijjada granthi, hridaya granthi. Then you see this pulsation. I got affected. I am affected. I didn't get what I want. Even mukti, Bhagavan asks, how to be free from mukti, how to free from samsara. Bhagavan comes out with a counter question. Bhagavan says, find out who is bound. The answer will be me. Who is having these problems? Me, I. I am born, I am having disease, I am having old age. My dear ones left me. All these problems, these miseries are for whom? Who is doing sadhana? Who is affected by worldly problems? Who is affected by physical problems? The only answer is me. Then Bhagavan says, look at that. Just observe the movement of this me. Do not go this side or that side. Simply observe how this me arises, how this I arises, how this I. The moment you lose sight of this I thought, it will just identify with some emotion and it will start describing its problems. Vibhranti. Like that, the moment you seek the ego, the moment you pay attention, you will see that the ego doesn't exist. The infinite truth alone remains. It's like Gadakasha. The Gadakasha is not there, only Mahakasha is there. The Gada gives out an impression of Gadakasha. Only Mahakasha is there, infinite truth alone is there. But by ignorance, mysteriously, this ego is accepted. Find out the ego, this ahamvriti. The moment you pay attention to this ahamvriti, this vritti slowly will get separated from the body, from the mind, from the intellect, and it will show itself as the essence of Shakti. Ulatunil alatila atishaya Shakti. Then Bhagavan gives the name Aham Spurti. Chetana, Chit Shakti. Aham Spurti. And that Aham Spurti will subside in pure silence, in Mahamaunam. There you know that you are the infinite truth. You are one with all. There is no ego, there is no jiva hanta there. Only Brahman is there. Then the ultimate aham is Hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahma matram hi aham iti sakshat atma rupena bhati. Yes, sakshat aparoksham brahma ya atma sarvanubhuhu. Shruti says Brahman is aparoksham. Aparoksham means immediate. You are not going to realize Brahman after some sadhana. Whatever you experience is Brahman. The very experience of aham, the very experience of one's own existence is the experience of God. It's not the experience of the body. To experience the body, you need sensation. But this experience of I am, this experience of I, this anubhuti is not the experience of the body, it's the experience of ultimate truth. It's the experience of chit. If you sit in a dark room, you know you exist. And that experience doesn't come to you through senses or the mind. It is self-effulgent. And that is, the moment you pay attention to that experience, you know that it has nothing to do with the body, it has nothing to do with the mind, it has nothing to do with this person. It is Arunachala Swarupa. Chittiramam idallam shemmalaye ninpale uttitamai nindre odungidumal nittiyamum naan endru idayam nadittiduvayal unper thaan idayam endriduvartam. Ever, hey Arunachala, ever you dance within me as Nan, 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 Nan. In Tamil we say Nan, in Kannada you say Nanu, in Malayalam we say Nyan, in English they say I, or in Sanskritam Aham. The word doesn't matter, it's only Vachyartha, the Lakshyartha, the experience of that I, the experience of consciousness, Bodha. Anubhuti, it is swasamvedyam. Everybody knows what it is. A guru is necessary only to make you recognize that what you think as an ordinary experience is not an ordinary experience. To make you recognize that it is, that is why Bhagavan said, Tedadutranal Tiruvarul Nidhi. Agatyakam Tirtarul Arunachala. Bhagavan said, Arunachala, already you are there in me as my own self, but this Tyaka means this ignorance of not recognizing it, not paying attention to it, not knowing its value. So the Guru comes and introduces you to the precious treasure which you are already having. Siddhamayula Porulai தேர்ந்திருத்தல் சித்தி பிற சித்தி எல்லாம் சொப்பனமா சித்திகளே. Anything that you achieve or attain, you are going to lose. But this truth is not something which you attain or achieve. It is there in you, as your essential nature, as the self within you, as the I am within you. And the moment you recognize it, you know that you are immortal, you know that you are deathless. It is not a knowledge which happens in the brain or mind, but experientially you know, and you need not meditate to keep it alive also. Bhagavan gives out the example of a man dressing as a woman and acting in a drama, and she acts so beautifully that all the audience, they thought that she is a woman. But not even for a second that person can forget that he is not a woman, he is a man. He need not even meditate after removing the dress. He need not again think that I am not a woman, I am a man. Because that is the fact, Vastu Tantra Jnanam. And the moment Guru makes you recognize that Vastu Tantra Jnanam, that recognition also happens in consciousness. It is not happening in the mind or brain. If it happens in mind, the mind comes and goes. If it happens in the brain, if something happens to the brain, your jnanam will also go. But it happens in you. It happens in your satta. And that happening is what we call as pratyabhijna. Pratyabhijnanam. Pratyabhijna bodham. So that recognition of your essential nature, as Muruganar Swami said, it didn't take any time. I had no time to do sadhana. When somebody asked Muruganar what sadhana you did, Muruganar said, sadhanaya, adhikku enga neram? I had no time even to close my eyes. Before that, the recognition has happened, it is not happening with your ability or faculty, but it happens through grace, un arulal. That Arul Shakti, Arulum Venume. In Atma Vidya Geetam, Bhagavan said, it's very simple. Ayye Atisulabham. It's so simple, it's so simple. In Ayye in Tamil, it also means it's a great wonder or exclamation, whatever it may be. But it also means shame, shame. Bhagavan said, being so simple, it's so simple, still you fail to recognize it. Ayye Atisulabham Atma Vidya. Because you are already that, you cannot even say Astamalagam. Even Astamalagam has distance. Kayyamalakakkani poyyai ozhiya migamayai ulladu Anma. Anma is migamai because it's ever available, ever experience, ever it is with you. Still why we fail to recognize Arulum Venume. Bhagavan adds Arulum Venume. You need grace. How will we get Anbu Poonume? You love, you have devotion to Lord or Guru, that bhakti, that surrender, and next moment that Arul starts flowing. As Devaraja Mudaliyar asked Bhagavan, it is written Arulum Venume, Arul Venume Bhagavan, Jnanatha Adaya. Then Bhagavan in beautiful Tamil, which cannot be translated, Bhagavan said, Arul tha irukuvoi, neer kurke varama irundha porum. Bhagavan said, what is only grace, but do not interrupt it by coming across. Adangu. Kunju Swami used to say, Padutunnudu. Padutunnudu. The moment you surrender, that grace will take you, pull you to the source. It's just like as Kapali Shastri puts, Bhagavan's own death experience, when Kapali Shastri wrote about it, he said, the moment that boy Venkataraman searched for the source of I, something from within pulled that mind to the source. It is just like a magnet mountain pulling a small iron rod. The magnet is a mountain, and Bhagavan also says that, Patanan Putumai Uyir Vali Kanta Parvatamurutharamitanai. Orthidum Uyirin Cheshtayai Odukki Urutanad Abhimugamaga Yirth Ade Tanpol Achalamashai. That magnet is not outside in Tiruvannamalai. Of course, it is there in Tiruvannamalai. But that is there within you. That magnet is within you. That Parvata, Kanta Parvatam is within you. Orthidum Uyirai. But Bhagavan gave out another way. He said, you have to orth. You have to go within. Oyade Ulhuvar. In Tiruvachakam, Manikavachakar says, Oyade Ulhuvar. Uninterrupted. Ulhel means, you cannot translate. It means simply innering. You have to translate it as innering. Going inward. Inwarding. Oyade Ulhuvar Ullolirum Ullanai. The moment that Ulgal happens, Ullolirum, that effulgence you will recognize within you as Arunachala Swarupam, as Ramana Swarupam, as your own Swarupam. Ni non Arappuli, Nidam Kalimayamai Nindridum Nilai. That state where neither the I exists, nor the you exist, nor this world exists. Na Shastram, na Shasta, na Shishyo, na Shiksha, na Chatvam, na Chaham, na Chayam Prapanchaha. Swarupa avabodhat vikalpa asahishnuhu tadeko vasishta shiva kevaloham. Neither the Shastram nor the teacher nor the taught, neither you nor me, neither this world, only pure Shiva, 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 Shiva. And that Shiva is here and now within us as Aham Padaswarupa. And we have only one duty left with us, That is Oyade Ulhuvar, uninterrupted sadhana, uninterrupted looking within, recognizing the self, doing self-enquiry. Then that alkollal will happen from within. That grace, flow of grace, you will touch the stream of grace, aruviyai perugum. That stream of grace, you will come in touch with the stream of grace within. The moment you touch that stream, no more you will remain as an ordinary person. Then no more sadhana for you. It's just like, as Swami Ramadas puts, the river remains as river and becomes one with the ocean. The moment you come in touch with that stream is in touch with the ocean, so in a way you are one with the ocean. But still you move, still you flow, still you do sadhana, still you practice. But remaining as truth, you will meditate on truth. Remaining as truth, you will move in this world and do your prarabdha karma. But for not even for a single moment, you will, fraction of a second, you will forget what you are. Punkhanu punkha vishayekshana tatparopi brahmavaloka dishanam na jahati yogi sangeeta tala laya nritya vasham gatapi maulista kumbha parirakshana dhihi nativa. As that dancer, expert dancer, putting that kumbha in her head, she dances, looking at the audience, dancing to the tune, dancing to the music, showing all mudras she is dancing. Still, she will not, even for a fraction of a second, lose her attention on that kumbha in her head. Like that, this yogi will walk and move about in his world according to his prarabdha. Ashai pol ulahil vilayadu veera, Bhagavan says. After that, whatever may be, ashai means your prarabdha. Whatever may be your prarabdha, whatever dress you have to put according to your prarabdha, you do that. It's not that you do that, you will do. That will happen through you. இறைவன் அருள் செலுத்தும் வழிக்கே ஷல் இருந்த படிக்கே இரு செலுத்தும் வழிக்கே ஷல். That prarabdha will happen through you, but you will not forget. Suppose even if a wrong step happens in that dance, Bhagavan says that will add to the beauty of the dance. In Tamil, Shadiratam சொல்லுவா. Shadir. In ஒழிவில் ஒடுக்கம், Bhagavan used to quote that, ஆனை மதமானால் அலங்காரமாம், நாய் மதமானால் ஆகும் தகுமோ. ஆனை மதமானால் அலங்காரமாம். When this elephant, what we'll call that, madam, என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க, that madness of elephant, we call it, it's not madness, something happens to it, some affectation. So that the elephant will look more elegant, more beautiful, more majestic in that state. But Nai, the dog, when it gets madness, people will throw stones at it. So, like that, Jnani tadai meerinal shadiragum. That shadir in dance, when they perform the dance in perfect according to that tala and raga, but in between, with their excellence, they will transcend the rules. They will go beyond the rules. And that moment is the moment which touches the heart of the audience. Then you know that some extraordinary beauty has come there. Like that in Jnani, even if he goes beyond everything, nothing will affect him, because he knows that he is not this upadhi and he is not deliberately doing anything. He is just dancing in that intoxication, and he will கூத்தாடி கீழே விழுவார். He will dance and throw his body away in that absolute freedom. That is Ramana Lahari. And that Ramana Lahari, let us have that inundation of Ramana experience within us. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Yato mamatma bhavasi tvameva tato na vachyam mama kinchidasti yathata veshtam gurumam tathaiva tvam atmanatham ramanam bhajami. So many ghoshes
who were intoxicated by the country-made exposition of the rich teachings of Ramana Maharshi. On behalf of the Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, we are indebted to Sri Nochur Venkataraman ji for having accepted to address us during this national seminar and cultural festival.
உபதேசம் முந்தீபர சிவனுக்கு உபதேசம் முந்தீபர இன்று போய் நாளை வா என்றான். இன்று போய் நாளை வா என்றான். பகைவனிடம் பரிந்து உந்தே பரா. பகைவனிடம் பரிந்து உந்தே பரா. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. தரித்த கணத கணத்த ஜனுத ஜனுத்த திமிதா தாதை கடதகதா. தரித்த கணத கணத்த ஜனுதா ஜனுத்த திமிதா தாதை. தத்தரித்த தன தத்தரித்த ஜனு தத்தரித்த திமிதா தாதை. தத்தரித்த தன தத்தரித்த ஜனு தத்தரித்த திமிதா தாதை கடதகதா. தரித்தத்தா தனத்தத்தா ஜனுத்தத்தா தாதை கடதகதா. தரித்தத்தா தனத்தத்தா ஜனுத்தத்தா தாதை. ததீம் தக்கிட்ட தீம் தக்கிட்ட தீம் 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 ததீம் த தித்ததீம் த தக ததீம் த தகதிக்கு கடதகதம் ததீம் த தித்ததீம் த தக ததீம் த தகதிக்கு கடதகதம் ததீம் த தித்ததீம் த தக ததீம் த தகதிக்கு கடதகதம் த. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. பரங்கருணை கடலுந்தி பர. காலகாலம் இத்தனை மாயங்களால் இருண்ட உலகில் ஆதித்தன் எழுந்தாரடி. இத்தனை மாயங்களால் இருண்ட உலகினில் ஆதித்தன் எழுந்தாரடி. கிளியே இத்தனை மாயங்களால் இருண்ட உலகினில் ஆதித்தன் எழுந்தாரடி. இவரே ரமணரடி, இவரே ரமணரடி, இவரே ரமணரடி. இருளில் விழுந்தழியும் உலகத்தை திரு அருளில் அணைப்பதற்கே கிளியே ஐயன் பிறந்தாரடி. இருளில் விழுந்தழியும் உலகத்தை திருவருளில் அணைப்பதற்கே கிளியே ஐயன் பிறந்தாரடி. பாண்டி திருச்சுழியில் பராசரர் மாகுடியில் ஆண்டவன் அவதரித்தார். கிளியே அஞ்சலி செய்வாயடி. பாண்டி திருச்சுழியில் பராசரர் மாங்குடியில் ஆண்டவன் அவதரித்தான். கிளியே அஞ்சலி செய்வாயடி. அண்ணல் பிறந்த பொழுது அருகிருந்தோர் கிழவே கண்ணிரண்டும் இல்லாமலே கிளியே கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி. அண்ணல் பிறந்த பொழுது அருகிருந்தோர் கிழவே கண்ணிரண்டும் இல்லாமலே கிளியே கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி. திருவாதிரை திருநாளில் கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி. கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி. கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி. திருவாதிரை திருநாளில் கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி. திருவாதிரை திருநாளில் கண்டாளோ ஜோதியடி.
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीव हित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये
सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट
सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शि नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ
ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ
ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ
ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ
ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ.
Our seminar and cultural festival will continue on different days of the week in the coming weeks. Please do join us for this Ramananubhavam through the meditations on the theme of Ramananjali. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Ramana